When it comes to making two-strokes, the 125cc class is TM Racing's bread and butter. We tested the TM 300 two-stroke and we love that machine. Now, for the last 6 weeks, we've been spending lots of time on this new 2025 TM 125 two-stroke. TM was gone for a while when Ralph Schmidt and TM USA parted ways. Now TM is back in the USA thanks to Cam Mitchell and 71 Powersports. Cam has been the TM importer for Canada for a long time, so he has history with the Italian two-stroke brand, and now he's bringing it into the US. We're thankful to have two-strokes from TM again, and it's been a while since we've ridden a TM 125. It's been 3 or 4 years now, so this was a refreshing experience for us. The 2025 model did see some updates, specifically to the engine, and it was a lot of fun for our test riders. It kind of exceeded some of our expectations. Bode Bushnell has been spending time on our TM 125. He's an MXA test rider in training, just turned 16 years old, and you guys might remember him from our Husky TC 125 video we posted a couple months ago. The Husky TC 125, fuel injected, electric starting, and electric power valve equipped. The TM 125, a little bit different. It does have an electric starter. It also has an electric power valve, but it's not fuel injected. It has a carburetor, which we're so thankful for. Everybody loves carburetors on two-strokes, especially 125. Other details about the TM, it is gray. This is kind of a new look for TM. I preferred the white and blue. What do you think, pink?
We should get the pink one next time.
But this bike does come with a Brembo hydraulic clutch, also comes with Brembo front brake, and it comes with KYB forks, but a TM shock. So kind of interesting mix of parts there on the TM 125. But what was your first expectation after riding the Husky 125? I know it was hard for you to give up that bike after spending 40 hours on it. Then when you heard you'd be testing the Italian Stallion, the TM 125, what were you thinking about it?
Well, it was definitely hard giving up the Husky 125, and I wasn't really sure what to think of this. I didn't know if it'd be very good because nobody has them. I've never seen one. Based off that, I realized, oh, maybe it's not very good, but it's been all right.
Is there a kind of cool factor now that you've been riding it that nobody else has one, just you?
Yeah, I feel like it's pretty cool to have the only TM at the track most of the time.
I like it. All right, Bode, you are 5'8", 121 pounds. You jumped on the TM 125. Did it meet, exceed, or fall short of your expectations that you had coming into it?
It definitely exceeded my expectations because I expected it to be slower than it is. It's slow, but once you get it into the power band, it's really good and it goes forever.
And you raced it. You raced it quite a bit, right?
I raced it quite like a lot of times, and then at the Moto Fest, I raced it in the 125 novice class and whole shot both motos.
Nice.
So it definitely pulls with a full gate, and then the suspension needs a lot of work.
Yeah.
That's where the bike struggles.
Before we get into the suspension though, engine-wise, what's different about this engine versus the Husky 125?
With the Husky 125, the power is a lot easier to get into, and with this bike, it's harder to get into the power, but once you're there, it pulls really hard.
Next up, suspension. How about the TM 125, suspension-wise, handling-wise?
For somebody of my weight, it's definitely way too stiff, especially the forks. The rear you can get used to, but the forks, they need a lot of work. But since they're KYB, you could probably figure it out easily.
But it's pretty impressive. The spring rate is actually a 4.3 spring on the front and then a 44 on the rear. So pretty stiff for a 125, I can concur. It was also stiff for a 175-pound rider here at Glen Helen today, and over the last couple weeks, whenever I hop on this thing, it is kind of surprising. So it would be good for some sand riding, maybe where it was maybe worked on in Italy with some deeper tracks. But when it comes to the softer or more hard pack tracks here, we definitely need a softer setting, especially for a stock 125. You just want it to be plush, and without engine braking like a 4-stroke has, you don't get a lot of weight on the front even when you let off the gas, which makes the forks need to be even softer on 2-strokes versus 4-strokes. So handling was this guy's complaint on the TM 125, but
that's about it.
That's about it, right?
Power's good.
Nice.
Suspension, not so good.
Maxima USA, we've been trusting them for a long time to keep our bikes going well. Bode here, he's been taking care of the TM 125. BioWash will keep all shades of gray clean, so we're thankful for that. Also Maxima inside the fuel tank, Maxima inside the engine, chain lube, SC1. Maxima is always keeping our test bikes dialed and keeping our test riders clean. But Bode, anything else you notice about this bike?
I did notice that when I put the bike on the stand, it hurt when I grabbed it because it feels like it cuts you. And then another thing I noticed is when I rode the rear brake, I would accidentally step on the part that sticks out further from the body. And then the rider triangle, since my legs are a lot longer than my torso, the rider triangle, it feels like the seat from peg height is a lot longer, and then the bar to seat height length is a lot shorter. Where on the Austrian bikes or the Yamaha, it feels more symmetrical and the length feels the same from each other.
But was it good or bad for you?
I think it might have been better for me because my legs are a lot longer. All right, enough of my jibber jabber. The people want to know what you think as the head MXA test rider.
I was talking to your dad about it. Your dad's helped us a lot. Shawn Bushnell, he's ridden 125s over the years, and he brought up a great point. 125s back in the day were had really small power band, but they also didn't have as much power as they do nowadays. This TM 125 is really fast, but it is more of a traditional 125 than the Husky that you just got done riding. That bike with fuel injection, electronic power valve, electronic starting, it's too electric for a 2-stroke, right? But all those, especially the electronic power valve and even the fuel injection, allow you to roll into the throttle easier with the new generation Austrian 2-strokes, where the carburetor, it takes a little bit of work. It takes a little bit of work in the pits to rejet the bike. We did do some jetting changes to this guy from a 50 to a 40 on the Pilot. We changed the needle, moved a couple different things around in the jetting. We did that with Ralph Schmidt. Ralph doesn't even work for TM, but he did come over here and help us dial in the jetting on this TM 125, so we're thankful for that. But the carburetor bikes take more work in the pits, more work on the track to get it into the power, but once you're there, it really makes good power. We did test it back to back against the Husky. We also rode against the Yamaha the other day, the stock Yamaha YZ 125. Now the Yamaha was easier to ride, easier to get into the power, but I think on peak power, this one is actually a little bit faster. So there's some pros and cons there. One bike's easier to ride, one bike makes more power, but then you have the cool factor that you're the only one at the track on a TM 125. So I don't know, how far does the cool factor go for you?
I feel like it's pretty cool because being the only one at the track, you get a lot of attention and people are like, ooh, what's he riding? You feel like a hero going to the start line. And you also feel like a hero when the power's great and you get the whole shot.
Yeah, exactly. And you got some experience doing that. So I think the plastics look really cool as far as the cool factor goes. The shape of them is awesome. I even like the front number plates got the vented style like all the cool guys are doing nowadays. But I hate gray. Gray, as a MXA guy, we're here to do magazines, articles, do videos. We want bikes that stand out, that you can see around the track. That's why we wear bright orange helmets, and this bike blends in. So for being the cool Italian different bike, I think it's pretty sweet, but I think we should go back to the white and blue, or even
the pink,
the hot pink. That might be you next year. So lots of fun riding the TM 125. I do agree with you on the suspension. It would be great for maybe some sand whoops or a really deep track, but definitely a little bit on the stiff side. TM, we're thankful to have them. We're thankful that this bike still has a carburetor. The electronic starter, not really needed on a 125 2-stroke. I think you could still kick it. We got to put some hair on your chest kicking the bike, but it is nice to have. And that's the other cool part about TM is there's so many options. You can choose if you want a fuel injected one. They actually do sell fuel injected TM 125s, or you could choose the carbureted option. You could also upgrade the forks to the A-Kit KYB forks, which we had on our 300, and we loved those forks a lot better than these stock KYB ones. So there's lots of cool options that you have with a boutique, smaller brand like TM to order the bike how you want it. So $9,500 is the retail price. This thing weighs in at 203 pounds, and that's above Yamaha, but also below KTM. And then on the dyno, it's actually runs right there with the Husky 125 that you rode. So even though it's not as fast as the Husky, maybe in motion, it's not as easy to ride, on the dyno and peak horsepower numbers, it's almost identical, and it actually pulls a little bit longer than the Husky 125. So for more about this bike, read read in the next issue, the September issue of Motocross Action Magazine. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you, Bode, for riding this thing, and see you guys at the track.
Subscribe.